Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Good morning.
What you heard is the whistle blow. And in case you didn't know, you are in the E-Shack this morning. Welcome. You're tuning into Junkanoo 242, the longest running cultural show in the Bahamas that focus on everything culture, but especially highlighting Junkanoo. Good morning to all of our listeners, everybody that's tuning in, especially in our lovely family of islands, everybody in the Luther, Freeport, Abaco, all those islands who's tuning in to Junkanoo 242 just to hear Arlene talk culture every Saturday morning. We welcome you. All of our viewers on Facebook, good morning to you. Tuning on ZNS. We say it's a special show lined up for you. We hope you had a great week. Let's get this weekend started. Arlene, the sun is out. How you doing this morning?
Oh man, it's good to be alive. It is February the 11th. It is wonderful to be here. Good morning.
Arlene, your Olympic team? Because I mean, y'all it's February and y'all people be moving fast, man. Yeah.
Well, you know, the group that I rush with, the themes are either Bahamian or from the Bible. So this don't have to take long. You ain't gonna see us coming from space or China or somewhere else. This don't have to take long.
Man, this is an unfair advantage, man.
It don't have to take long. Good morning and good morning to our beautiful Bahama land. It is so wonderful to be here this morning.
Yes, and with that, we're just happy that you're joining us. And what we're going to do, like we always do from the beginning, let's get it started with our prayer because we got another exciting show that we were quick to jump into this week.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, for the gift of life, we give you thanks. For our nation, we pray for peace, progress, prosperity and principle, recovery and restoration. And for ourselves, we pray for wisdom to use your gifts wisely, especially the gift of Junkanoo, so that we may honor you, serve your people, build better communities, a better Bahamas, and a better world. Amen.
Amen. Proud to be Bahamian.
All right, give it to me straight. I know I got mine this morning.
Well, Arlene, of course, if you didn't know, I mean, this week they had the National Junior Junkanoo Parades that took place center stage, Bay Street. They was in the sports center this year, buddy. They was in the main thoroughfare breaking down stuff, and I want to say congratulations to the teachers, especially the teachers and the organizers, for being able to get all of those kids in costume, all doing some type of movement in the same direction. I also want to say, a special thank you to the parents that supported that whole, the whole parading of Junior Junkanoo and what it's leading to. Happy to see that we're keeping it alive and can't wait to see as we strengthen it even more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with you. That's a whole topic. That's a whole show in and of itself. But I want, from a senior perspective, I really want to congratulate Genesis. I thought the move that they made was a wonderful one. They brought, basically, you might as well call it their junior group. They brought their youngsters in their group to Bay Street to participate as a community group, which is allowed in Junior Junkanoo. And I thought that was very special. So congratulations to everybody involved in the parade.
Yes, that is commendable. I want to see a lot more people, a lot more schools next year get involved with it. It's always exciting to see, this set of the young children going this way, and there's always that one or two who go in the wrong direction. Some of them is even turn around and walk back, like they're going back. But hey, this is what it's all about, getting them experience, and we encourage them and congratulate them. Well,
and the other thing before you go on, I want to congratulate Christina Muffin Fernanda. I saw where she had been invited into a school. I can't remember which one.
That was
Stephen Dillett to present certificates. I want to congratulate Stephen Dillett for highlighting Junkanoo, and it really reminded me of when one family used to have the Warrior for Excellence youth program, and we went into the schools religiously every year. So I hope that is the start of the reintroduction of the Warrior for Excellence Youth Program.
All right. What we're going to do is we're going to run to our first break. And when we get back, we're going to formally introduce the topic of our show this morning and get things started. You're tuning in to Junkanoo 242. We'll be right back.
What you hear on this radio station is governed by IRCA's Code of Practice for Content Regulation. The Code of Practice covers matters relating to program content that are of concern to the community, such as local content, news, current affairs, and programs for children, advertising, including political advertisements, and the responsibilities associated with broadcasting in the Bahamas. The code also covers aspects such as access services for the hearing and visually impaired, and the procedure for lodging a complaint about anything broadcast by this station. The code is available on the IRCA website at www.ircabahamas.bs. To receive a copy of the code by mail or in person, you may telephone IRCA at 242-393-0234. Family Island dialing is toll-free at 1-242-300-8722, or you may send a request by email to info@ircabahamas.bs.
So what you scared of? Grammy, if I tip off the police and somebody find out... Ain't nobody gonna find out. Crime Stoppers ain't the police. They just as works with the police. Same difference. No, boy. With Crime Stoppers, you say, when you call their number, it's Mr. Bahamas altogether, and go directly to Miami or Toronto, Canada. Ain't nobody gonna know your voice, or that you name Bertram, or that you live down the island. I mean, you realize you IDing me right now? Boy, I raise no criminal. If you see what going down, call Crime Stoppers. They get no personal info. They just give you a PIN number. So how you know so much about them? How you think your uncle get up Fox Hill? You serious? If he won't be canned, I able to turn him in. So uncle know you was a snitch? Crime Stoppers ain't never gonna tell nobody. And top info, they just give you cash. You get paid and all? You eating good, right? The light's still on, eh? Grammy. Wait your man up. Stop the crime before it's your time. Huh?
Call 328-TIPS or from the Family Islands 242-300-TIPS.
This public service announcement was brought to you by Crime Stoppers in conjunction with the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas.
From the Junkanoo archives on the Junkanoo timeline, the year was 1953. Because of what was described as continued disorderly behavior, the government of the day banned the 1953 Boxing Day Parade and the 1954 Junkanoo parades. Another significant notch on the Junkanoo timeline.
I tired telling you all how to behave when you go out amongst people. Y'all don't know how to behave, my Lord. Shameful. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Whistle Blow. And we are lined up and ready for this segment of our show. This is the roll over. And just before we go any further, I forgot to do this in the Proud to be Bahamian, segment. I cannot resist. Y'all could throw as much rock and bottle at me as you wish. Just look at these. You see the size of that?
That's off That's off your neighbor tree again?
Off my neighbor tree. My neighbor, who is so kind, he stared 2 branches over the fence to make sure I could pick them. They are huge, and I want to say thank you to my neighbor, Mr. Ferguson. I appreciate it. And just for the rest of y'all, no peace, no happy, no holy, no nunny. And so on that naughty note, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are ready to continue with our show this morning. We are continuing this very critical, I believe, discussion on Bahamian music. I think it was week before last, we heard that Island FM had shut down, which was the dream of Sir Charles Carter and which focused on Bahamian music. And that really drew our attention to the whole, I wouldn't say plight, maybe that is the word to use, the whole plight of Bahamian music and why it is not predominant in our country. And we could think last week of nobody better to get the conversation started than our own musical genius, Fred Ferguson, and he consented to return. Cuz, good morning.
Good morning, my cuz.
How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. How about you?
Excellent. Well, and all the better because you are back in the E-Shack with us.
Yeah, I think before we get started, I think I hear Ronald in my earphone trying to get your attention.
Oh, okay. Ronald Sims, what's happening?
Morning, how you?
Morning, how you?
I was asking you if that's them big sour juju you was holding up.
You could console yourself and convince yourself that they sour. They just as sweet as they could be. You can't eat these with one bite. A nibble. Jujus are my weakness, fella. I don't care if they sweet or sour. Once I hear juju, that's it. They are my favorite in all the fruits that we have in the Bahamas. So that really makes me proud to be Bahamian.
But you know, cuz I don't know if you remember, there's a story. I don't know if it's in the Royal Readers about the fox and the sour grapes.
Yeah.
You remember that story?
Yes, I do.
So tell them that's Ronald and your jujus now because he can't get them.
Yeah.
He called them sour.
Thank you. Exactly right. And especially since I say no PC, no happy, no holy.
Yeah. But see, the young people don't know that story. That story has great meaning.
All of those old fables had lessons behind them. Oh, the good old days.
Anyway,
so, cuz, I am going to turn. Sorry, Ronald, go ahead.
I ain't care what you're gonna say. They ain't never been a sweet juju in my life.
I could spare one for you.
or a sweet smelling juju. Boy, they could smell stink.
Y'all need to stop. And you know what my favorite kind of juju? This is a Bahamian word. They gotta be whingy. I don't like them swell. I want them starting to turn brown and whinge right up. Yeah, it's rough around here. So back to the matter at hand. We talking Bahamian music. We started last week, and I am just going to set the stage and then turn the proceedings over to DF because he has a number of questions. But basically, Fred, what I got out of last week, the thing that really stayed with me was your observation that we have not really pinned down the definitions of what is Bahamian music, and a lot of things hinge on definitions. And so I am going to let DF take it from here because I'll tell you the truth. I want to leave here at 11:30. I want us to leave with a plan. Even if we have not completed it, I want a plan. What is the first thing we know what our goal is. We want to restore Bahamian music to its rightful preeminence in the country. That's how I word our mission statement. And if you agree with that, then how do we do that? So DF, it's all yours.
And I think she set the stage very fittingly. This is why we have Fred here. We started to deal with the definition and it being, quote unquote, said from the ministry, I guess, heralding in what is Bahamian music. Fred, do we start there with that definition and getting that from a national standpoint?
I think that would be a good way to start, but I just want to state that I feel a hole here. My brother, the other Darren, is not here, so I greet you well, my brother, wherever you are.
Don't be surprised if he drop in.
Where is he?
Don't be surprised.
I need my partner. I need my fraternal partner here to make this whole.
I think he had a funeral.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess he'll pop in sometime in the middle if he can.
We'll excuse him. Yes.
Yes. I think the naming, because even in my cousin's introduction, she just goes, we're gonna make sure Bahamian music is placed to its rightful spot.
Okay.
She didn't even say a name.
Right.
You know, if she was in Trinidad, she would be saying, we'll make sure that soca gets placed in its rightful spot.
Okay.
Yeah, in the Bahamas we go, and we're gonna make sure Bahamian music, and with that one terminology, that also adds to the confusion that most of the young Bahamians are saying anything done by Bahamian is Bahamian music.
Yes.
However, you can't say any rhythm is rake and scrape or boogaloo or whatever you want to call it, whatever the terminology is that we come to at the end of the day. So getting the name started, the name would be a good way to get it started. The other thing I like to add to that then is the definition of that rhythm, those rhythms that we claim as our own.
So before we get into definition, then is actually step number 2. Name Bahamian music for me then, Gus.
Listen, I have the same concern as a practicing musician, knowing that we have Junkanoo and we have rake and scrape. And I said last week that the way to compare them is to have take on one hand Burma Road by Ronnie Butler, and on the other hand, Get Involved or Junkanoo or Dance to the Junkanoo by Bahamian, and note the difference in the rhythms. They're completely different downbeats, for want of a better word. So the definition of those musically and technically can be notated and can be taught in the schools. One have a backbeat that goes on the and one, and one have the front beat. And for me, I say very simply, rake and scrape makes me lean my head to the left. I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody. But Junkanoo makes me do a different kind of dance, a two-stepper, which is more like the beat is different. So the definition, I think, should follow the once we name it, we should now be able to define it musically and in musical terms.
So we are working then with 2 genres of Bahamian music. We got rake and scrape and we got Junkanoo.
And we got our folk stuff, which is the rhyming spirituals and that stuff.
Okay.
We can't forget
and
that.
Folk. Oh, and so what you call that?
Folk.
Okay. Folk music. So we got 3 genres we working with. And now, so we once we agree on that, then now we start to define what they are.
Put the technocrats to work. We got persons who are much smarter than me technically. We got the Chris Onionnells, we got the Sonovia Pears, we got the Wendy Lewises, a bunch of people who've been to school who could get in a forum and document this thing. Put it in our curriculum.
Yeah, I am glad you called Chris Justilian's name, because I heard from him after the show last week. He has a website where he has begun to do this kind of work. So we want to say good morning to Chris and thank him. And I'll try and find the link so that we can encourage everybody to go and have a look.
Yeah, that's a good way to start. Like I said, it is firstly we have to know what we're defining. And I said last week, and Freddie Munnings called and Ronald agrees that we have been toying with the name Gombe for a long time. And the Gombe is not a rhythm per se, it's a title overarching.
Okay.
Substrates now are these names that we called previously, the Junkanoo, the rake and scrape, and of course our folk music, which is just there.
So if somebody said to me, what is Bahamian music? If I ended my answer by just saying Gombe, I need to say the umbrella term for Bahamian music is Gombe, but we have 3 distinct genres under that umbrella term. That's what I'm saying.
I'd imagine, I just put myself in them other people's shoes. I mean, someone from Jamaica, because they have they have established there so long, they don't have to describe the substrate.
Yes.
No.
Exactly. They just say reggae.
Because and reggae comes with a bunch of substrates.
Yes.
So in the early stages, we can have to do a definition when someone asks us until we establish ourselves to that level.
Okay. Here's what I got.
Okay, I got.
First, we need to name it. The name.
Yeah.
Gombe. The name of Bahamian music is Gombe, with substrates or genres underneath it, or under all of it is Junkanoo, rake and scrape, and folk.
I can live with that.
Okay. From there, what we would do.
Ask Ronald if he could live with that, DF.
Ronald? I don't know if Ronald, he probably walked away for a few seconds.
He gone looking for my juju right
for
now.
your juju.
I got no interest in your sour juju. I got no interest in all of your sour juju. They ain't putting my teeth on edge.
Right now, he gone to find salt and pepper to dip them in.
So what did I miss?
We were defining Bahamian music as Gombe, with substrates or genres under it as Junkanoo, rake and scrape, and folk. Would you agree with that? Or you could live with that?
That's what it's always been.
Oh.
Okay. Just
like,
putting it on paper.
Yes.
Like, we've been through this before, you know.
We've been here a long time. Yeah.
I know you all are tired, but we going through it again because this time we can make sure something happen.
From there, what we would do is define what makes the various different substrates distinct in terms of their beat or their rhythm. What makes Junkanoo different from rake and scrape, different from folk.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that's where Fred say we need what he called the technocrats.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So they provide the paperwork on, if I trying to play a rake and scrape beat, I would follow these cadence. I would follow.
That's correct.
Okay. From there.
So Fred, before we leave that point, Fred, you called the names of some Bahamian musicians who have that training and skill. Give us some names again, because we need to know who to contact.
There are a lot of them here, but just off the top of my head, I'm talking about those who are involved and in my circle. Of course, both Castilian brothers.
Okay.
Chris and Yanel. So Novia Pairs, very highly trained. I say Wendy Lewis because a number of persons do not know that Wendy, the singer that we know, Wendy, went to Berklee College of Music as well. She's a graduate.
Wow.
And there are others. There are others who didn't.
You've got a whole slew of new music educators who are well trained, who can resist in that regard.
A lot of them out there now. But I call the names that I could give you those names that we could start with, because there are a number of them out there that we could call.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Okay. Go ahead, DF. Next step.
So once we have this, quote unquote, the paperwork, the definition, what are we doing? From there, you're saying we put it in schools to be taught.
We have to be educated, and the way to do that is to put it in the curriculum.
Now, I think we're missing a step.
Okay, go ahead.
With the greatest of respect to Fred and Ronald, who are all conclaved right out. I think. Yes. Now we can call it by another name, but I think we need to get all of the key players, including the teachers, because not every teacher has this training and knowledge. I think we need to have a national discussion. I'm going to not use the C word. We need to have a national discussion so that these beats are demonstrated, they are taught, all of the information that we need on Bahamian music is disseminated, and we are sharing. There's an exchange of ideas. There's an exchange of methodology in terms of how we do this and do that. And so, yes, I really believe, I'm not going to use the C word, we got to have some kind of gathering. Let me use the G word, some kind of gathering, and we all come away from there with the consensus that this is what we are, this is what we are about, and this is how we going about getting it out from there.
I,
That's my
I think
personal.
I think bypassing the C word, I remember, I'm old enough to remember when we were becoming independent and they were introducing our national anthem. They played it
Yes.
on the radio a lot. I think Kayla Edwards was part of the team, but sang it every night to make sure we learned it, et cetera,
Yes.
et cetera. So this is an approach. Once we determine these rhythms,
Yeah.
we use those mediums, and we talk about it the same way we have done Gombe Gap Seed and other things.
Yes.
We have to use every medium to say, as a part of our 50th anniversary, we have determined this is what we're going to call our music, and this is how we're going to define it.
Excellent. And so what you are saying basically is you can have an in-person session, but we can also do it virtual. It can be a Zoom coming together of everybody, but basically we're saying the same thing. And then I think, Fred, what I also hear as the next step, you're talking about putting it into curriculum. The next step after we all have everything nailed down, it seems to me as if this is what I hear you saying. It's almost like, for want of a better way to put it, we are going to have a public information campaign. We have these little snippets on radio, on TV about Bahamian music, getting everybody attuned to what is happening, right? Okay.
Yes,
so
I think I'm
something?
public relations. I think I'm done with all of the C word talk stuff. We don't need to talk no more. We know what it is. We play it all the time. We just have not come to the point of defining it. I mean, you can hear it.
Yeah.
People are playing the different styles of music, and to the point sometimes where they are overdoing it, where they're trying to fuse it into something else and calling it junka pop and Junkanoo, and reggae-noo, Reiki-noo, whatever, all these names.
Nonsense.
But there's a general sense around the nation of the separation of the rhythm. So I don't think we need much more talking. What we need right now, just the same way they do, what they just come to us and tell us what sloop sailing is, we can just tell them what this thing is.
Yeah.
And let's do it.
I get very irritated when I hear musicians talk about what they do they call it a blend? Not a blend.
Yeah,
what
do
fusion. They call it?
Fusion.
A fusion. It's nonsense, because all it is they throw in one or two Bahamian words or a cowbell and expect it. You ever heard a Jamaican talk but reggae-noo? They don't need to add anything onto their music. We are always using these fusion things as an excuse to still feature other people's music. That's how I feel about it.
That's because the foundation is weak.
Exactly.
And so we mixing the cement and all that right now. This is what we're doing right now. We're trying to find a way to firm up the foundation. Without the foundation being strong, and I don't even know, I must be becoming a rev or something. I talked earlier about the old fox and the grape, but that's an old story. But I'm going to talk now about building the house on the sand.
Oh,
You got the band down back.
We've been building this rake and scrape, this Bahamian Gombe thing on the sand for so long it has not been able to stand.
Yes.
We need to firm this foundation up. Let's stop the talking. Let's just, the first thing we gotta do is agree on the name. The rest it's gonna fall into place. But we have to first of all determine that we want to call our music something. And even if someone give another terminology and say, well, it's not Gombe, it should be tra-la-la, then explain why you think it should be that.
Let's talk about it, right?
Let's move forward.
Now, so we got we moving along here at a quick pace. We want to put it in the curriculum, so we will have to get our curriculum writers, music teachers, and all of that. Now, excuse me, while that is going on, how do we get what kind of incentives, what kind of strategies do we engage to get our writers to write, our producers to produce? How do we get at least the Bahamian market before we talk export? We want to make sure we got a solid footing here, because we have plenty, we got millions of people coming here. So what kind of strategies do we employ to get Bahamian music? We done decide what it is and blah, blah, blah. Now we need to have plenty of it.
Yeah,
How do
and
we make that happen?
Here's one thing we do in the Bahamas very easily is copycat.
Yeah.
Even when you're sitting in a test, you better cover your paper because somebody can be copying off your paper.
Yeah.
We copy well. So I think, and now that I'm on Junkanoo Talks, I'm going to use this to reference. I remember when Chris and Yanel were in Roots and they started playing Junkanoo at 9,000 miles per hour. It was super fast. And then everybody next year after that came super fast. And then one family won. I remember speaking with Stan and Jackson at one point. I say, man, you got to slow it down. And one family slowed it down and won. And the next year, everybody was slowed down. And 1 year, Chris and they came with one color. They get riled for it. But a couple parades later, more people come with one color. So I'm saying we always follow what the trend is. When I did Aging Nothing But a Number with Ronnie and Count, a ton of or Emily and Ronnie, a ton of duets came after that. So the trend usually sets what's going forward. So now to create this music you're talking about, I've had a conversation with a prominent Bahamian recently about recreating the Motown story in the Bahamas.
Yes.
Establishing a studio where you set people in there to write and produce music at a high quality.
Yes.
Get this music out on the market. Get a male singer, a female singer, a trio, a whole group of people who sit together and create beautiful and our music don't have to talk about sunshine and sea. We have sex, drugs, and rock and roll too. We could talk about all topics.
Yeah.
So get these people in a space, and we have people who come back from school who are trained in all the areas, songwriting, arranging. The musicians are there, but we have allowed the market to become so stagnant that everybody want to be everything. I want to be the writer. I want to be the guitar player. I want to be the drummer. I play everything on my song. Everything starts sounding the same. So when KB bring a song that's popular, the next artist sounds just like KB. When D-Mac bring a song, the next artist sounds just like D-Mac. So we need to find, I think the Motown story will be the great way to begin to establish, because once you get that trend started, people will follow the trend.
Amen. And so I believe we are getting ready. I don't want to say, I don't want to respond to that. And then we have to stop to go to a break. So Ronald, maybe this might be the best time for us to take our next break. And when we come back, we are talking about the creation of studios and engaging people deliberately to do this. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we're here with Fred Ferguson. We're talking Bahamian music. We're coming up with our strategy. We want to hear from you. When we return, we'll be right back.
Respect the sign. When vehicles without an accessible parking permit use a parking space designated for persons with disabilities, even for just a minute, that's 60 seconds too long. The abuse of accessible parking spaces is a daily frustration for persons with disabilities. It is inconsiderate, insensitive, and hinders persons with disabilities from effectively conducting business and actively participating in community life. Never park in a space reserved for people with disabilities unless you have a permit to do so. It is the right and respectful thing to do. This message is brought to you by the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities, a unit in the Ministry of Social Services and community development. For more information, visit www.disabilitiescommissionbahamas.org.
The Princess Margaret Hospital Blood Bank is in urgent need of blood donations of all types. Blood bank hours of operation are as follows. Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. The last donor will be accepted at 4:30 p.m. On Sundays, the blood bank is closed. Identification needed for donation include your NIB card or driver's license. Do not attempt to donate if you are sick or experiencing respiratory symptoms. Do not come to the blood bank in large groups, as we will be accommodating 3 persons at a time. For more information on how you can become a blood donor or instructions on what to do before coming to donate blood, please contact the blood bank at 502-7822.
From the Junkanoo Library, filed under L for loyalty. In the old days, you were in a Junkanoo group simply because of where you were born. As time moved on, persons from other and newer areas joined Junkanoo groups. Today, we are faced with the sad spectacle of young Bahamians hopping from one Junkanoo group to another in search of a win or some other superficial goal. Let us focus on loyalty, which has always been one of the great hallmarks of the Bahamian character. Choose your group and stick with it, man. Junkanoo is not the NBA that needs a draft to find its team members. Don't even joke about it. This is Junkanoo, born out of the souls of the people of the Bahamas. Stick with your group. Be loyal. Be committed. And help to build our Junkanoo. We're so proud of it.
We absolutely are. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Junkanoo 242, the whistle blow.
And if you get mad, just ask them when the election.
You need to stop. We are, Lord, don't get me giggling in here this morning. We're supposed to be behaving. We are lined up, and now it's time for our voice lap. And this morning, we are again talking Bahamian music with the great Fred Ferguson, and we want to hear from you. If you would like to join the conversation, I know everybody got strong opinions. In New Providence, you may reach us 325-5403, 325-5404, 325-5405, and in our family of islands, 1-242-300-8255. And so we were talking, we are coming up with our strategy now to catapult Junkanoo, Bahamian music right to the top of the ladder. And we couldn't think of a better time than Independence 50 for this to happen. Now, Fred, what I wanted to say, that's a beautiful analogy. Recreating the Motown story in Bahamas, he said, get the people who have the skills in a space to do it. We have to be deliberate. The latest word is intentional. I would like deliberate. We have to be deliberate. Now, I don't know if you remember when the first Cultural Commission was formed under Winston Saunders and Charles Scotter. Yes. Prime Minister Christie at the time made the point that everybody has to live. He was always so sensitive to the needs of people. He said, and for us, he was talking about writing. He was talking about literature. He said, for us to build up the body of literature that we need to have as a nation, he was prepared to hire, for want of a better way to put it, he was prepared to get Bahamian writers to pay them to write. So it would not be a pastime or a hobby, but not something they made a living from. They would receive a salary and they would be able to settle down and contribute to our body of literature. That is what I hear you saying with music.
We have to
contract
be, yes,
people.
yes,
Go
yes,
ahead.
yes,
Mhm.
yes. No, you're right. We need to be intentional. It's like I like that phrase, intentional or deliberate, because somewhere I've been told in the history of the further development of Jamaican music, their Prime Minister Edward Seaga, however you pronounce it, was a record producer, and he was intentional or deliberate in ensuring that it happened. We have not been that fortunate, I should say, to have had a leader who quite understands what this is that we're talking about, to put the muscle behind it. We've had them say things in house and in the house and make promises on the surface. They continue to build a house on the sand, because every time the winds of election came and the strong winds came, the house was blown to another position to be reestablished again by another person. So being deliberate is absolutely necessary. We have a bunch of young Bahamians who don't come back home because they can't see a way to make a living in the entertainment field yet, who are trained. Pero Grande is another guy who I think he's in Canada somewhere, trained in orchestration and so forth, doing stuff in other people's country. But if we have a place here where these persons can come and contribute, and young guys who come back from school are trained in engineering from Full Sail and all those other places, but we establish this space that persons can go in and record at the highest level, write, produce, be trained in the art of entertainment. This the Motown story. This is what they did. Very gaudy major. They learned etiquette. They learned how to perform on stage. They learned how to show themselves in public. But most of all, they developed a sound. And this is extremely necessary. We must be deliberate about it. Otherwise, it's still going to be left to the winds of change.
So I'm hearing the Bahamas Institute of Music.
Hello.
And we can add art and design. We can add Junkanoo, but whatever it is, this is where we are going to do us, as the young people would say.
Yes, but Junkanoo in the practical Bay Street form is not removed at all from the Junkanoo music that we're talking about. So all this creation works together. So when we create this music in this setting, some of the music under this Gombe umbrella is going to be Junkanoo, and some of it is going to be Rake and Scrape. And so when that Junkanoo music is written, then we won't hear City of Gold.
Man, you're keep picking on
I made a list. The other day.
No, man.
Blessed Jesus, hold my hand.
That's
City
past
of Gold,
disgusting.
I'll Fly Away, and Amazing Grace. I got 4 to take off the list.
No, man. You see just how fight this break.
I got 4 to remove.
Fred, as the old people would say, this where the perpendicular go hit the condubrance now. No, I am not.
The list. I made a list. I waited for this to say this on air on this Saturday.
No, man. Say, okay, call him again.
Yes, blessed Jesus, hold my hand. City of Gold, I'll Fly Away, Amazing Grace. I forgot one. Osam.
Osam gone too?
Yeah, Osam gotta go.
Well, at least, oh Lord, you doing us right.
The simple term, because they play it out the same way we conclave out.
Yeah,
they play it out.
It's just overkill.
It's just overkill right now.
Boy, they sweet though.
They sweet, but they simple. They simple. And so when some of these horn players, we write songs in the key of B flat because they only could play their trumpet in the key of C. So that's a simple melody to play there. So we don't write anything in them other keys because these fellas just learn to spit in their horn, and that's the only key they could play in.
And that's it. Well, when we look on the positive side, Junkanoo, you have hundreds of them picking up horns because of Junkanoo. And correct. So we see the positive side.
Cannot take that away.
Right. It can be used as a hook Once you have, that's the sine qua non, that's the prerequisite. That's what you must have to be successful. Once you want it to happen, we could train you. We could train. No problem. And that's the most important thing, that they are motivated and inspired, mainly by Junkanoo, to want to pick up a horn, and that's what we are going to trade on.
Yes, but I think we should not just take that again on the surface. Use that opportunity to do it right.
Correct.
Exactly.
One thing about music practice, once you start practicing bad habits at the beginning, it's the hardest thing to break. You know, even as a guitar player, you learn to finger those scales wrong. You can feel that later on when you try to advance to the next level. So it's the same thing with horn players. You already got their attention. You got them in these areas. Do not just be thinking winning on Bay Street because the only thing they could play is City of Gold. Take them in there and teach them scales and teach them modes and teach them how to tune their horns properly and protect their horns. A bunch of these horns will even be in cases. They'll be mashed and fellas and just be walking around with them. You already said the right thing. It is proven that they want to be involved. You're taking people off, young boys off the streets, keeping them out of trouble. Now, why not make that the right opportunity to do the right thing?
Yeah. And you know, it's not limited only to music. But just as a quick example, I ain't throwing no rock at nobody, but just as a quick example, you know, even in Junkanoo, even in junior Junkanoo, you see things in junior Junkanoo that you would not wish to see in the senior parades if we are going to retain certain traditions, like, for example, paper. Okay, and so when what you said applies to every theater of your life. If you start doing it wrong, the longer you do it wrong, the harder it is going to be to get on the right track. Whether it's music or whatever it is, whatever we are doing wrong, it's going to be hard to correct.
The junior Junkanoo of today is the senior Junkanoo of tomorrow.
That's my point.
And the bad habit that they learn today, because right now, like I said, this new swing downbeat of Junkanoo has now infected junior Junkanoo. So the Junkanoo that we know, that is the beat, that is the boom boom, is no longer. The tom-toms are playing the pretty much the same thing all the way through. The downbeat of those big bass drums in the back has changed to a swing that we have now infected the young Junkanooers. And this talking from a musician standpoint. Everybody will kill me because I'm not a Junkanooer, but I've had a friend, Tim Roman, our friend who came from the States. We were standing by watching a rehearsal the other night, and we were both musicians saying, this thing is swinging differently. It's always leaning towards the hip hop thing now. So it's like a and we know Junkanoo to be boom boom, boom boom, boom boom. And so that has now infected the junior Junkanoos. So in another year or two, there'll be the complete removal of the downbeat that we know it, because we have trained them that this is the beat.
This is it, and you know, and I also have a concern, you know, anyhow, we'll talk about that another time, but you know, if you're going to win a parade or win your division, if you're wearing t-shirts, you know, soon people will believe you could do that on Bay Street, and so it's scary. Now,
you gotta be careful.
We have a question. Dale is asking, what is the origin of the word Gumbe? Would you go over that for us again, please?
I can't claim to be the smartest person in the country, but it has an African, and Freddie Munners talked about it last week, more so than me. It has an African connotation. I think I've been told it came from the word Gumba. You know, there's a bunch of different reasons that we've been told, but for whatever it's worth, the fact is, wherever it is now, we've taken claim of that word over the years.
Yes.
We know what we did with it. We formed our festival downtown. We know we did everything. We created a logo. We made it Bahamian. So that's where it is now.
Yeah, my understanding is that it's from the West African djembe, the drum. And somewhere I read that in the Bantu language, it means rhythm. And so, but you know, when you talk about we've taken that word and that word is ours. That's another thing we let go because Florida owns that word Gombe, not us.
And not only that, the Floridians has taken over the Gombe Festival and is no longer Bahamian.
Exactly.
They have hip hop and rap and all those other things on that festival.
Yeah. And we could sit right here and just let everything, watch everything disappear. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very sad.
So, okay, we stopped that because y'all didn't hurt my head now. They're getting mad.
Yeah, we really out of control.
So the last step we stopped at was having a deliberate, intentional focus on creating this Bahamian Gombe sound.
Yeah.
And so the whole idea is like I think you guys hit this, but who's gonna fund this? Is this gonna be a national project that we do for a while? It should be. How are we rolling this out? Who's funding this?
I was thinking on the break, is this important to us?
And that will answer the question of who will fund it.
Funding it?
How important is it to us?
Now, that's on a national level. Now, there are people like myself, persons like me, who say, I'm going to record Rake and Scrape no matter what it takes, because that's what I like to do.
Right.
But on a national level, and you'll hear other persons say, well, you can't legislate culture and so forth. Let it come from the belly of the people. That is correct too. But if we're going to do a thing and make it national, where it becomes part of our culture, there has to be a deliberate attempt. And now,
Fred,
first of all,
is the belly of the people.
Yes,
we are the belly of the people.
We are the belly of the people. So we need to determine, firstly, is this important to us?
Yeah.
If it isn't, then we could next week we could talk about something else in Junkanoo.
Well, let's put it this way. For those of us who consider it to be more than important, we consider it to be critical, it behooves us then to get it done. We ain't waiting for everybody who might not see the urgency and the necessity that we do, but those of us, we go in with the faithful view. That's what we doing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So okay, we have a national focus and budget to actually get this created. Good.
Hold on, be specific. To create a studio, to create a facility, a physical facility, and then to contract those musicians who are able to come in and work full-time on us achieving our mission. That's what we're talking about.
And before you go to break, if it's important to us, two things that's going to cause trouble, that should fall under our ministry, capital M of culture. Mm-hmm. So first thing we need to do is establish a ministry of culture. You know, Barbados has their National Cultural Foundation, which helps this, which is an offshoot of their Ministry of Culture. First of all, we have to get a Ministry of Culture.
Hold on, Fred. Hold on.
Put that down.
Yeah, stick a pin right there because we're getting a break. Because during election, when we was talking about we need our own Ministry of Culture, people call us crazy. So you gonna have to tell us, because you got more sense than us, why we even need a separate and apart Ministry of Culture. It juking something
what will be different from the Department of Culture? What will be different from today?
Right.
We can talk about that.
And we need ministers who know what it means. So we come back with that.
We ready to break. You're tuning in to Junkanoo 242. We're gonna be right back. How important is Bahamian music to you?
Regattas, homecomings, festivals. Zennis is the only station that brings you all the action live from all of the family outlets. Don't wait. Get your very special Zennis advertising package for all of these Bahamian events and be a part of the excitement as we celebrate our 50th year with homecomings, festivals, and regattas. Call Zennis Sales Department today at 502-3800.
So you see what's going down, babe? Them jokers running free. You need to go report what you see.
Me? For them to clip me next?
I ain't saying going to the police directly.
What you talking about then?
Call Crime Stoppers Bahamas. You can tell them directly what's going down.
Wait, Crime Stoppers is the police, you know?
No, my boy. When you call Crime Stoppers, it is answer your call in Miami or Toronto, Canada. So no one can know it's you. And you don't have to give them no personal information because they give you a pin.
Wait, what you talking about, though?
They got their own system down there to get the information where it need to go. I just saying, if you ain't got nothing to lose, you might as well get these jokers off the street.
True, and so Crime Stoppers is the one that's give you plenty money for that hot news, eh?
Yeah, and if you help the police with the arrest, from pin, you get some balance. So I just saying, win-win, my boy.
So what the number is, though? Free up the number.
Do the right thing. Stop the crime before it's your time.
Bing.
Call Crime Stoppers Bahamas today at 328-8477 or from the Family Islands, 242-300-8477. It's safe, and the life you save may be your own.
This public service announcement was brought to you by Crime Stoppers in conjunction with the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas. Regattas, homecomings, festivals. Zennis is the only station that brings you all the action live from all of the Family Islands. Don't wait. Get your very special Zennis advertising package for all of these Bahamian events and be a part of the excitement as we celebrate our 50th year with homecomings, festivals, and regattas. Call Zennis Sales Department today at 502-3800.
You know all the community announcements that you can find only on the ZNS TV network, all the happy birthday and anniversary wishes, business ads, congratulations, funeral announcements, and memorials for departed loved ones. Well, now you can view them all on Channel 230 on cable, uninterrupted, all day, every day. That's right, 24/7, 365. So tune in to Channel 230 and never miss an announcement.
Examples of excellence. At the age of 7, he was fringing newspaper. By the age of 10, he was involved in Junkanoo construction, and by age 13, he was shaking bells with Eugene Fitzgerald on the Junkanoo parades. Alexander Doyle Burroughs went on to rush with Spurgeon Smith until he officially joined the Young Valley Boys in 1959. In the early years of the Valley, the dancing of Al Doyle, as his shield proclaimed, was legendary. He also worked in the shacks with wire, did structural work on costumes, fringed costumes, and inserted the colors, as well as made drums and blew the foghorn. Over the years, Doyle has been given credit for the introduction of contact cement and, along with brother DeAnsa, staples and pliers into Junkanoo. In 1994, Doyle was a presenter on drums with the Bahamas delegation to the Smithsonian. He continues to assist the Valley Boys with costume construction. And as he celebrated his 80th birthday earlier this week, the Junkanoo community salutes this Junkanoo living legend, Alexander Doyle Burroughs, this week's inductee into the Junkanoo 242 Shack of Excellence.
Yes, so fitting, Arlene. I would go on record as saying that he holds the title of a true living legend.
Living legend, capital L, capital L.
Welcome back. You're listening to Junkanoo 242. It's the second lap, and we're talking Bahamian music with Fred, Course Construction Ferguson. If you want to join in this conversation, give us a call, 325-540-34 or 5 in New Providence, or in the Family of Islands, 1242-300-8255. Before we run to the break, Fred, we were talking about, is this thing important to us as a country? You know, we should do some things about it. And one of your suggestions is have a ministry of culture? Help us to understand this thought.
A separate, focused ministry of culture. Listen, and we say it all the time, we get together and speak. And culture is not a weakly defined word.
Mm-hmm.
The word culture, it says every single thing that you do that defines you as a geographical location, as a country. So we need to make that ministry so important that because like I said, it doesn't only define our music. Culture is not just Junkanoo. A lot of Bahamians go, well, Junkanoo is my culture.
Mm-hmm.
Junkanoo is our culture. Junkanoo is a part of our culture.
Correct.
Kung Salad is a part.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Do you think because we have not put such heavy emphasis on such the importance of a ministry of such that we're seeing this decline?
Yes, in my lifetime, and I've been around the sun a couple of times because last week this was a black bear, it's white now. So I say that I have not seen any focus being really placed on a ministry of culture in my time. That has always been attached to something else.
Okay.
The Ministry of Education and Culture. At one time, it was Ministry of Education and Cultural Affairs. I think it was, but then I know it's Youth, Sports, and Culture now. It was something else, some other time, I can't remember right now. But it's always been an appendage. So that means is that we see it as something that we just add on to. Mm-hmm. And in my couple of years around, every assigned minister, and I be careful because the public is going to say, well, he's partisan or whatever, and be very touchy about politics. But every minister that I know in my lifetime has just been assigned because they've been involved either in Junkanoo or in the arts in some way. Because you think of the names, just call the names, you'll see they were either cowbell shakers in one of the main Junkanoo groups or something. Mm-hmm. If I lie, prove me wrong. And then we need directors in these departments who also understand what this thing is all about. So I'm not saying this to be vindictive. If this thing is serious enough that we want to fix it, we need to give this ministry its own portfolio and allow it to do what it's supposed to do.
So, I have often wondered, as we talk about the role of the ministry, I have never personally seen a mission statement, and so I may be speaking out of turn here. But it seems to me, just theoretically, that a ministry responsible for culture should have as its mission the preservation, the protection of the culture. That to me is what the ministry should do. The Ministry of Tourism then takes the culture and shows it off to the visitors. But for example, as you talk about culture being everything that we do, all of the Americanisms that creep into our language, Bahamian English. To me, that's the kind of thing, the music that we are talking about now, as opposed to having events.
Yes, of course.
That's my personal feeling, and I'm not saying that's how it's laid out now, but that's off the top of my head. That's what I think it should be.
I agree with you 1,000%, Kurt, and I'm thinking that ministry is so important that, like you say, the mission should be what it is that we want to keep as our culture. Let's make a list of those things.
Y'all can't have
We have our list. DF, we better talk about that next week. We made our list of aspects of Bahamian culture.
Y'all 49 and they ain't define Bahamian music. I waiting to see how y'all gonna define Bahamian food. And what is Bahamian architecture?
Yeah.
What is Bahamian?
But we can do it right DF. We are 50 years in. I said this last week and I continue. Let's make DF 50-year one.
Yeah.
This a good place to start.
Yes, you're right.
If they're bold enough to talk about sloop sailing, then be bold enough to talk about everything else.
Yes.
Let's just do it. Let's just make it 50-year one. We're gonna determine that we've gone through 50, we've done some great things, we've made some major mistakes. Now let's see how we could let's see how we can go forward. I mean, we've eaten sour jujus, we've eaten sweet jujus. We've done all of these things together. So all I'm saying is, Cuz and DF, let's make it a 50-year one. Let's determine what we want to maintain as our culture. We want to make sure that Kung Salad is is made this way. This is the foundation. I don't say you can't variate on it.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, you can add stuff to it, but this is what it is.
This is the foundation. Our music is going to be this. I don't mean you could do whatever you want. You could become the world's biggest junker pop person if you want to do that. But the foundation of the Bahamian music is Junkanoo. If we're going to determine how we're going to build our houses, we're not going to build on the beaches. We're going to slant our roof in a certain way. We're going to lay them in a certain direction to incorporate the wonderful breezes. There are so many things that we could determine as the foundation and say, these are the things that we are now going to focus on through a clear-cut ministry of culture and put people in these areas. Like I said, in Barbados, the National Cultural Foundation is an autonomous body, but attached to the Ministry of Culture. Let's do I've been there. I took Nicolette Bethel with me when I was in tourism. We sat with these people. We wrote reports about how it's done, and it's just gone to the heavens. We do not have to recreate the wheel. We are part of the Caribbean. We are part of CARICOM, which is happening soon. Let's just do what is right for us.
Yes,
that's not a hard thing to do.
Yeah. And clearly, what is being heralded here is a continuing and ongoing discussion on really we are beginning to define Bahamian culture. I should say redefine for the 50th anniversary for what you are calling year one.
When you say redefine, where was it defined for me, please? I just want a copy of the definition.
Well, there is a cultural policy that was done by Schaefer, the Schaefer report. I promise to send you a copy of that.
You promised to send us a copy of that.
Please.
Okay, I will make that happen today. Let me write it down now.
See, this is why I keep on harping on definition is so important. It's so important. It's so important. It's because when you don't have a definition, anybody could creep in or anybody could just say, oh, well, this is this. Really? According to what? Here's the definition. Here's what we define it as. If it does not fall in these parameters, it cannot be considered X, Y, Z.
Listen, bro, DF, in this house I sitting here right in, this is my parents' house. They had definition how this house was supposed to run.
What you could do and what you not gonna do.
Listen, these are the boundaries. You come in, you don't have no key to this door. You come in past that time, you sleep outside in the yard. So, all that is to say is that once we put our problem in our country is we do have rules, We have rules that a fella on a motorbike without a helmet was fined $100 or something. These dudes is really downtown in front of the police and no helmet.
I find that to be amazing. And we also have laws against dropping litter. We have laws against obscene language in public. We don't enforce anything though.
This is the problem. Bicycles supposed to be licensed. From I remember, they have a license on your bicycle you put on your spokes. So all that is to say is we could do all of this that we want. We could make all this happen and talk all we want. But if this Ministry of Culture is not strong and it's resolute, if they are not strong, we will set up another ministry that will die the same death as cricket and will probably do the same thing as sloop sailing, as I said before.
Oh my goodness. Oh, we have a quandary. We are in the middle of a dilemma. 49 years old.
Not a dilemma that we cannot get ourselves out of. You have to want to get out. Well, first of all, you have to see it as a dilemma. Then you decide that you want to get yourself out. That's the next thing.
The first fix of fixing your alcoholism is accepting that you're an alcoholic.
You have to understand that that's what you are.
And without that, cuz and BF, our problem is we have and listen, the three of us here, we have great ideas, and I can't claim that three of us are the smartest people in this country.
No.
And there are other persons out there who feel the same as we do. But our elected leaders, I see your post that you put there, someone complaining that every time I come on, I want the government to do something and I want them to give us our own Ministry of Culture. Yes, we elect leaders to take the country forward, but you cannot go anywhere unless you know where you're going.
Yeah.
And the first thing we have to determine here is where do we want to go culturally? And if it is important to us, we'll create a Ministry of Culture. Give them a mandate, a proper mandate, and it has to be bipartisan. We have to set a goal over a time period. Let's say a 20-year plan, a 15-year plan, that no matter who wins the election, will continue to carry out that plan. This is the only way we're going to make this happen.
I like the way you're talking, Fred. You're talking further than next week, further than next month, further than next year. You're talking about actually setting goals and putting, our benchmarks in place that outlast us, that outlast people who may be elected in or out of our office. But this ministry stays true to what the vision and the goal is, like Arlene said, with having a mission statement.
Yeah.
Some of the things that we neglect, and we wonder why people are so happy with mediocrity in this country, is because we have not really put a mission statement together for a lot of various different areas in our country, and so mediocrity is the order of the day.
Yeah, we have to tell our leaders there are a couple of things y'all could row about in the House of Assembly. Row but this and row but that, but don't touch culture. Let's set the rules for that, and let that stay set for the duration of the time that we determine that we're going to need to develop that.
And don't change something just because another party comes in power. It has to withstand the test of time.
This is the only way. We were talking about the music. We've already defined that what we need to do and the kind of steps, but none of this add up to a hill of beans, as we say, if we're not ready enough to focus on it and make it a priority. Otherwise, all grandchildren will be on Junkanoo talks, whatever. We used to be, what our area code used to be before we became 242, 809?
809.
Yes, so our children we mightn't be 242 no more. We may be 2000 and something. And our grandchildren will be here, Junkanoo 2000 and something, and they'll still be talking this exact same thing.
We got a comment in from Facebook. Chris Justilian is saying, would be great to hear from our young people and their thoughts on what's on their minds. You'd be shocked if you spent a day at UB in my class about these very topics that they discuss.
I spoke to his class just about 2 weeks ago, and he is extremely correct. And what bothered me the most in that presentation, Chris' class, was I just posed the question: if any of y'all had the chance to leave the country and do not return, how many of you would? I'd say 98%.
They ain't coming back.
I'd say 98% of them raised their hands. That's an indictment. That's an indictment on us.
Absolutely.
We got a call on the line. Let's go to the phone lines. Good morning. Hello.
How y'all doing?
Very well.
Well, thanks.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Arlene, how you doing? And Freddie, Ferguson.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I just have a question and a comment. I love Bahamian music so much. This for the Zenith programmer, head of programming. I want to hear only Zenith. I want to hear only Bahamian music on 12 midnight to 6. If I want to hear American music, I know to hear American music, Jamaican music, and what have you. And I'm sure BFO would agree with me. 12 midnight to 6, Bahamian music. It's a national station. On this blessed, as we celebrate our blessed 50th year, let's make sure that it celebrates 50 years for life. So my other question is to Freddie. I'm going to throw this out to you, and I want BFO to comment on it, and anybody comment on it, especially Arlene. Should we legislate music, Bahamian music policy? Because you mentioned Gombe and rake and scrape. I would say rake and scrape. Me and my friends and years having a little debate here, and some people say Gombe. So I need you all to ponder on that, and Fred, and help me out here, give me a straight answer for the bunker leader, and be up like you saying something? Hello?
I know. I heard you. We heard you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
I'm going to hang up an answer. I didn't play again.
Yes, sir.
You think y'all come back to TV, man? Come on,
we'll get into discussions, and hopefully soon we'll keep you posted.
Go on, before you write, somebody you write a dead man.
Okay, that's a good goal to work towards independence. We'll try.
you put your back on TV, huh?
Thanks for calling.
Thank you. We appreciate the call.
Folks, we're running to our final break. You're tuning in to Junkanoo 242, part 2 of Bahamian music. How important is it to you? We'll be right back right after this break.
Regattas, homecomings, festivals. Zenless is the only station that brings you all the action live from all of the family outlets. Don't wait. Get your very special Zenless advertising package for all of these Bahamian events and be a part of the excitement as we celebrate our 50th year with homecomings, festivals, and regattas. On Zenless Sales Department today at 502-3800.
When I got prostate cancer, my family didn't know if I was going to live. At Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Within days, I got an appointment. They presented me with treatment options, and we set up robotic prostatectomy. When my scans came back, there are no signs of cancer. They don't see you as a number; they see you as a part of the family. I'm going on with my life. It's a real gift.
Call us at Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
You know all the community announcements that you can find only on the ZNS TV network, all the happy birthday and anniversary wishes, business ads, congratulations, funeral announcements, and memorials for departed loved ones. Well, now you can view them all on Channel 230 on cable, uninterrupted, all day, every day. That's right, 24/7, 365. So tune in to Channel 230 and never miss an announcement.
And now for news off the shock wall. Happy birthday greetings goes out to Antonisha Nairn, who celebrated her birthday, and everybody else who celebrated their birthday. Have a happy birthday and a blessed new year. Condolences goes out to everybody who is mourning the pass of a loved one or somebody close to them. Our thoughts and our prayers are with you at this time. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Yes. Go on YouTube, look up Junkanoo 242, and you subscribe to it so you can watch all of the past episodes. You can see part 1 of this episode, and you can see all the upcoming episodes as we keep you tuned into what's going on in culture, Junkanoo, and in the country. Remember that the Bahamas Junkanoo Art and Music Festival has been postponed. More information will be forthcoming in the weeks. Arlene, it is Saturday, February 11th, 2023. We are 45 weeks away from Bay. You're muted, Arlene.
I fighting to find white paper. I got some more bush. I got to cut it rough. I'm only 45 weeks away. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are in the final segment of Junkanoo 242. I just want to read a comment that came in from the beautiful island of freedom from Eleuthera. Fred Ferguson said something that I've been saying for eons. Until we have a national vision, a national objective, and a comprehensive strategic plan, we ain't going nowhere. We need to reset the national mindset with one common goal and stay true to that vision. We ignore that at our own peril. That's profound.
I
agree.
I totally agree with that comment. And Alan, you've heard me say this before, that our last greatest national plan was post-independence, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The thrust to independence from
immediate
1973. Yeah, after that, we had no other national thrust. And hence why we see the decline in national pride. Hence why we see why people will say, cool, I would leave and I wouldn't come back.
Yeah, we did not establish it as a priority. And so the horse out of the gate now, and we got to go find him to bring him back inside and close the gate.
I think this must be my philosophical morning, because I already had the grapes and the house on the sand.
Yes.
And and the Bible,
Yes, I think my next point is, I think we just let our bicycle fetch we stop peddling post-independence.
Mhm.
We just fetch,
Yes,
and the wheels stop rolling.
But Fred, that's more significant than you think, because where do you fetch? Downhill.
Downhill.
All right. Okay then. You
That's it
don't
right
have
there.
to pedal. You fetch
Yeah,
downhill. You
we
can pick
fetched
up
and
speed
we,
regardless.
and we
Wow.
stop pedaling after a while. The wheel just went slower and slower, and here we are. You know, after
Yeah.
when the wheel come to the point of stopping the bicycle, it started to get wiggly.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
it right there. That's where we are.
folks, if you're just joining us, what we did on this show is we actually took it upon ourselves to actually come up with an outline, come up with some steps that we could do to actually start to move the Bahamian music back to the state of prominence, as I
And ended up talking about culture, period. So did you write your list down? Because I could write what I put.
Most definitely. The first thing is that name the music of the Bahamas. We agreed on the show that the name would be Gombe until somebody comes up with some other name.
Right.
It would be Gombe with the genres under it: Junkanoo, rake and scrape, and our folk music,
Right.
spirituals. Second thing, what we would do is we would define those various substrates and what makes them unique, going into actually showing you the paperwork, how this cadence is different from this melody, all of those various different things. From that documentation is compiled, we can now actually have that being taught. We could actually lay that out. We have the paperwork, and we can put that information, whereas it can be presented to the public. We can actually show them what is rake and scrape, what is the beats or the cadence of Junkanoo and folk. From there, as we present this to the public, the next step is to put this inside our curriculum, whereas it is weaved into the school so it can be taught and perfected and also nurtured. The next thing is, while that is happening, we have a national plan, a national mandate, whereas we create a space, including studios and various other different things that we would need to actually put in there, creating the Bahamian Gombe sound. Writers, arrangers, people that engineers, and these people are, go ahead.
No, you can say it right now.
These people are being compensated because this is what they are mandated to do.
To do, right.
To create that to help creating that Bahamian Gombe sound and creating the materials. And from that, Arlene is saying we birthed the Bahamas.
They will be seconded from wherever they are to work on this special project. They will be seconded. Yes, sorry. Go ahead, DF. You're doing well.
And as we do that, we're looking we have to get to this comment, but as we do that with the step of creating that space and having this national thrust towards that, Arlene is seeing the Bahamas Institute of Music, Art, and Design. Whereas those standards are actually
for art, Junkanoo, and design, whatever we want to call it.
Yes, and that's how we get it done. Did I miss anything?
That, and you said curriculum?
Yes.
Also, we said we would launch a public relations campaign so that the information is disseminated, and we raised the question of who is going to pay for the institute, because it's going to take funding, and but basically you have those points. That's the plan that we came up with to get the music anchored and established, and then we move forward from there. Because, I think the day will come if we inspire Bahamian artists and musicians to create all this music, then the day will come when we can put our foot down and say, if you are establishing a hotel in the Bahamas, you must have Bahamian music in there. I don't know if it's optional now or not, whether some developers just decide it's a wonderful thing to do, as opposed to the Bahamas saying, if you put in your hotel in our country, you got to play our music. And the other side of that coin is to the radio stations, but we cannot put our foot down until we have the music. And so we will work down the road. Hey, Fred, we'll work down the road. We may be very nice and start with, let's say, 40%, because we being nice. And then you gradually up that so that the majority of music on our radio stations in a few years, it's totally Bahamian.
And one word that we must add in that last statement, because is quality.
Quality, yes.
Quality music, because I don't care how
DF,
many
write that
persons
down.
come here, how many persons come here with their hotel. You can't force them to play trash.
Right.
Exactly.
You're right. You're right. You're right.
And the same thing with the radio station. This is why I said we are responsible for the demise of Charles Carter Station, but that's another discussion. We cannot force the people to play trash. So this whole program is to create quality Gombe music.
So that raises another question then. Who becomes the watchdog of the quality standards?
The music industry has established a standard.
Yes.
Okay.
And I would also say this is why, correct me if I'm wrong, why you're creating this documentation as in terms of what separates what and playing it, but also with you doing that and creating these people who are producing this Bahamian Gombe sound, there's a level of excellence. And once that is established, the prayer pressure kicks in, but positive prayer pressure. If the excellence is at 10, you're not trying to do 8.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? Just like how Fred said earlier in the show, we are excellent at copying. We excellent at copying. But we copy the wrong things because in most situations the excellence isn't there. Now once you put it before them, they would copy it.
And add to that, like I said, we always follow the trend, but I want to say that when you go to America, you go to Jamaica and other places, stations have standards before they play your song. I can't take my song off my computer here and take to WMBM Miami and say I got a song. It goes through a process. You know, when Eric D came here, and he established that process with 100 jams, he was hated. He was hated by musicians because he set a standard. Your song ain't good enough to get on my airwaves.
Well, it's not all that backup goes.
Fred, before you go, Mr. Bain said you need to explain what fetch me into the younger generation.
I can let Cuz do that.
Good morning, laddie. If you were on your bicycle and you pedaling, if you get to a point where you don't need to pedal anymore, like you're going downhill, then you just stop pedaling, you fetching them.
And you fetch, yeah.
You fetching. Yes.
So yeah, I think that's one of the most important keys that we have to add to this discussion. Quality.
Yes. And Yonel, and he is right. The majority of young people who rush in Junkanoo do not know its origin. Their number one response, it is a competition on Bay Street. In my end, I've been assigning research projects each term about Junkanoo, and they are loving their findings. We are failing through education. Okay, and we have some beautiful comments here.
We talked about this before we went on air. We were saying the same thing, that we have to bring back the celebration factor to Junkanoo. And then let's have the competition if that's the culmination. I don't have a problem with that. But leading up to the championship showdown between the major groups should be the celebration that comes to that. We have removed the celebration and focused only on the competition.
Amen. Amen. And that's another discussion for another time, because I think scrap has a difficulty getting on the parade, and that's the essence of celebration right there. And so, Fred, it has been such a privilege, and shall we reserve the right to have you back. We ain't finished yet. Do you have any closing words for this segment?
Well, 2 weeks. I think 2 weeks is good for a moment. I'll take a break whenever y'all need me again. Yes. But I appreciate y'all having me. Yes, I think, and listen, someone wrote on Facebook the other day, who made Fred Ferguson, who make him think that he is the voice of what it is to be Bahamian. No. I have a view. I speak my view. You have the right to speak your view.
That's right.
And so I speak from the position, for me, where I'd like to see my country go as it relates to what I call my profession. If I was a contractor, I'll fight the same way for my carpentry and plumbing and whatever. As a musician, this is what I fight for. I like to see happen because it's going to affect me as a practicing musician. So these are my views. I am open to your opposing views. Do not ever think that I am trying to ram something down your throat. If you disagree,
absolutely not.
Say so. And so I'm glad to be here again, my people.
It was wonderful. DF, you got anything to say?
Thank you for coming, Fred.
Yes, yes.
Appreciate
And so,
you,
ladies
brother.
and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of such a critical discussion. I thought it was wonderful, and I hope you did the same. And until next week, when we return, remember now, this is Junkanoo 242. It's all about you wherever you are in the 242. And until next week, make sure you let everything we all do prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that we are all proud
Proud
to be
Bahamian.
Bahamian. We'll see you next week.